I'm Sharon Tong. Welcome to In Parliament. Today, the debate started with the Ministry of National Development. National Development Minister Koh Boon Wan said his ministry will press on to change rules and policies which may inadvertently cause hardship on divorcees. Mr. Koh was responding to MP Lee Bee Wa's concerns and announced that divorcees who have full custody of all their children won't have to wait 5 years before applying for a second subsidised flat. They also won't have to get prior consent from their ex-spouse. In line with his speech on Friday, he emphasised a need to be compassionate, and he's also told his ministry to see if 5 years is too long to bar divorced couples. Mr. Koh explained that the policy was put in place to prevent abuse of the system in the past.
It was an abuse. They were never seriously divorcing, but they just want to take advantage of these two subsidized flats. And they remain married. The marriage is intact, but in form, seemingly they divorce and then they occupy two flats. And this was old case. That was when that prompted this policy. We will try to balance really between deterrence against abuse and minimizing hardship on divorcees.
And from helping genuine cases of divorced families trying to start again, the ministry also has plans to try to improve living conditions for the elderly. It will spend $380 million to make flats more elderly-friendly and build lifts in all multi-storey car parks by 2017. Minister of State for National Development Lee Hsien said that senior households will be offered the choice to install features such as grab bars and anti-slip bathroom floors in their homes under the Enhancement for Active Seniors program.
Besides the hardware, we must ensure that the right services and facilities are built in the estates to help residents to age in place. We will work closely with MOH and MCYS to ensure that social facilities are integrated with other town amenities to better serve our seniors. But it is not just physical integration. We need to be open and mutually accepting as a society about catering to the needs of different groups. Seniors, the young families, the young and families alike. This mutual acceptance will help us grow to be more gracious as a society and build a truly caring and inclusive home for all.
But there are trade-offs as Singapore develops, says Minister of State Tan Chuan Jin, like the Bukit Brown Cemetery, part of which will have to make way for a new road. The proposed road will be part of an outer ring road system that will enable motorists to bypass the city. It is also urgently needed to connect housing developments coming up in the northeast and northern part of Singapore.
Space is always a constraint in Singapore. This is a given. But it does not answer the question of why a road to cater to a group of motorists, say, is given higher priority over what some others may value as a heritage site. In fact, the space argument can also be used to support higher priority for heritage conservation.
Apart from the three options mentioned, that is the widening of Lornie Road, the viaduct and the tunnel, what were the other options, if any, had been considered before narrowing them down to these three options?
We considered widening Lornie Road, but that would have encroached into the Central Catchment Nature Reserve. And it would also entail land acquisition, which, where we can, we try to minimize and avoid. Viaducts, that was something that we had also considered, but it would also have had similar impact. For example, road diversion would have been required during the process of building some of these viaducts. Tunneling. Well, a tunnel would cause much more damage to the cemetery, as I realized as a result of this project that most of our tunnels, if not all, are typically constructed by the cut and cover approach, meaning you cut this hole to form the tunnel and then you cover over it. Boring, for example, if you were to bore the tunnel, you don't have a bore that's large enough to create this 8-lane road, but you would then need to create 3 separate tunnels in order to create that. It would have to go deep, but at the ends, again, you need the cut and cover method to provide for the exit points. And that would again cause quite substantive damage, more so than a road would. So the proposed road was decided upon because it provided the least impact.
Mr. Tan added that making such difficult choices on how Singapore's land is used does not mean that heritage and history are lost to future generations. He said conservation is part of a larger story to celebrate Singapore's heritage, and energies should be focused on ways to document stories and share them. For instance, since October last year, the Urban Redevelopment Authority has been funding the documentation of about 5,000 graves at Bukit Brown Cemetery.
It is part of a much, much larger story, which is about where we come from and who we are. This is not the end of the road. In similar fashion, we also form a consultation group comprising nature lovers, heritage buffs, cyclists, and the like to discuss on how best to shape the future of our rail corridor. That is also another important part of our history and heritage and our biodiversity landscape. We have envisioned together that indeed a continuous green strip can coexist and can complement developments along that corridor. Work goes on to define that space together.
As for adopting green technologies, the Housing and Development Board will pilot a green print project in a neighbourhood in Jurong East. Minister of State for National Development Lee Hsien says water and energy-saving solutions will be implemented. A pneumatic refuse collection system will also be installed. HDB will also enhance the cycling and pedestrian network to promote eco-friendly transport.
The Green Print will also look at supporting greener living by piloting a green home package where residents can choose the types of energy-saving appliances to green their homes. From the pilot's findings, HDB will then refine the Green Print model for possible rollout to other HDB estates.
Improving worker productivity was also addressed in the National Development Ministry's plans. Construction workers can upgrade their skills with a new multi-skilling scheme to be launched in July. Workers will be trained to be competent in multiple construction trades on-site and give greater flexibility to employers.
With more such multi-skilled workers who can take on more and varied assignments, companies will have greater flexibility in optimizing their manpower deployment on-site and hence able to hire fewer workers. Under this scheme, the workers must pass BCA's skill assessments to qualify for lower levy as high-skilled workers. Employers will hence be encouraged to send their workers for training outside of their first skill to boost their productivity.
Other schemes to help an ageing population were also key in the Manpower Ministry. The first is a refinement to the CPF Life plans to better meet the needs of retirees. It provides retired Singaporeans with a lifelong monthly income and will be simplified from 4 to 2 plans from 1st January next year. Features of the current Life Plus and Balanced plans will be combined into a new standard plan. The standard plan will be the default plan for Singaporeans, offering higher payouts with a lower bequest feature. The second plan is the existing Life Basic plan, which offers a higher bequest but lower monthly payout. The current Life Income plan, which has no bequest feature, will be removed due to low demand.
We have a scheme that everyone is familiar with. It will continue, but CPF Life will extend the minimum sum scheme for life with minimum reduction in monthly payouts. Take the example of a CPF member who has $90,000 in his retirement account at age 55. $90,000 is the median retirement account balance for active members in this cohort. If he were under the standard plan, the default plan, his monthly payouts will be only 2% lower than what it would have been under the minimum sum scheme. But he will get payouts for life. He has no risk of finding that he lives long, fortunately, but suddenly the money runs out.
Still on older workers, the Minister of State gave an update on how many are still in the workforce. The Special Employment Credit, which will now be enhanced, will help older workers stay employed, and the Advantage Scheme will be extended to March next year. This scheme provides funds for companies to make jobs and workplaces more age-friendly.
The best way to illustrate this is to show the example of St. Luke's Elder Care, who has redesigned jobs for its older workers. They are a voluntary welfare organization that offers care services for seniors. Over 90% of its local staff are aged 40 and above. St. Luke recognizes the importance of enhancing its work processes to make it age-friendly. So with the help of Advantage, they equipped all passenger vans with hydraulic wheelchair lifters. Now, this is a very simple idea, a very simple enhancement, but one that has a big impact on helping its older workers perform their jobs better. It reduces the physical strain on the care staff and drivers. Every day they have to lift the immobile elderly up onto the vehicles, and with this simple device, that has made it a lot easier for them.
Focusing next on low-wage workers, the Manpower Ministry has announced plans to help workers benefit from Singapore's economic growth. Under the Workfare Income Supplement Scheme, or WIS, employees will now be paid 4 times a year, up from the current twice-a-year payments. The change will be implemented from January 2012, and the first quarterly payment will be received by 1st June 2012.
While the CPF is important, what many of these older workers really need is cash in hand to deal with immediate needs of the day, i.e. the rising cost of living and stagnant wages. For older workers, I also urge the government to consider releasing WIS payments more regularly to help them ease their financial burden.
WIS has become an important pillar of our social security system. Regrettably, not every low-wage worker receives it. This is because some fall outside the CPF system, which is used to administer WIS. To compound the problem, some workers also prefer that their employers does not contribute CPF, so that they too can avoid contributing their employee CPF and have a higher take-home pay, but certainly short-sighted.
Mr. Hawazi also said the government would step up its efforts to bring about compliance of the CPF and Employment Acts. This will be done through a media campaign to raise awareness of employers and employees on their obligations and rights. Now, the focus on uplifting the wages of the low income has inevitably thrown the spotlight on the cleaning and security sectors. Mr. Hawazi says it's expected as a large number of low-wage workers are traditionally from these two industries. The Manpower Ministry is working with the National Environment Agency to strengthen its Green Mark accreditation scheme. It will introduce a requirement that cleaners employed in accredited companies receive appropriate wages. It's also studying how to shorten working hours and cut down overtime work for the security industry.
These measures to uplift the cleaning and security sectors will raise manpower costs for such services. Parallel efforts to raise productivity in the sectors will mitigate this. But it is inevitable that cleaning and security services will cost more for some buyers, especially those who cheap source currently. Today, the cost of cleaning and security services are typically small compared to overall operating cost. The incremental costs arising from these measures we are talking would be even smaller, just a fraction of these cleaning and security costs. Furthermore, we will phase in the changes so that they are even more manageable to businesses.
Besides its focus on older and low-wage workers, the Manpower Ministry stressed that all Singaporeans will continue to remain the core of the workforce. Under the Continuing Education and Training System, or CET, they are provided with more career choices. The Workforce Development Authority will be launching its revamped website by the end of this month to offer users information on industries and occupations. In particular, professionals, managers and executives, or PMEs, will be receiving assistance through a one-stop service point, Caliber Link, which provides career coaching, transition programs and networking sessions for them. Mr. Tan said more help will also be given to SMEs to hire talented Singaporeans by offering enhanced training subsidies and absentee payroll support for these companies. The WDA will also begin to engage private sector agencies to tap on their expertise and resources to better match different segments of the workforce to jobs.
Our people remain at the center of what we do. We create the conditions to provide good jobs for them. Being able to stand on one's own 2 feet and to respect the dignity that comes with work are part of the ethos that our forefathers have handed down to us. When we talk of the low-income earners, notwithstanding the wide range of assistance provided, we believe that providing jobs is the best form of welfare.
There was an extended exchange over the issue of the dependency ratio between Workers' Party MP Lau Tia Kiang and Mr. Tharman. Mr. Lau asked if the dependency ratio ceiling and the workers' quota can be adjusted based on sector and industry to give some industries more time to improve their productivity. Mr. Tharman asked the Workers' Party chief to specify which sectors he felt should get more liberal treatment, as it appeared that the Workers' Party was changing its position on foreign workers, going by the speeches made in the past and in its manifesto.
First of all, in my speech, I spoke generally. I say some industry can tighten dependency ratio for some industry and can relax dependency ratio in some industry where Singaporeans shun the job. He says that I specifically, did I say which industry that the DRC should be tightened? I just told him. And he said, then you don't say those things that people feel bad because it has to be tightened. But neither in my speech, I mentioned which industry where the dependency ratio should be relaxed. So neither did I say the good thing or the bad thing. So his claim that I want to claim political credit, saying the good thing, I think that probably is his own imagination.
I can see the difficulty you have. I think it is quite clear. It is quite clear that we all know which are the sectors that want more foreign labor, right? We all know. You can read the newspapers, you can read all the feedback. We all know that the sectors that want more foreign labor are the ones which are affected by our reduction in dependency ratios, right? Moderate reduction, right? So if you are not concerned by that, then there's nothing has changed in our policies, right? The only change in our policies was that we announced a 5 percentage point reduction in dependency ratios, which you have responded to. So the sectors which are affected by that are well known, right? F&B, retail, bit of precision engineering, a few sectors, right? Like that. So that's what you're responding to. So I think it was quite a reasonable reading of what you were saying, that you are calling for us to rethink some of that tightening. You can't be calling for us to rethink a tightening on industries that we were not tightening on, right? So that I think was a reasonable inference. And I would urge you, even if you feel that that's not what you really meant, I would urge you to be a little more specific and straight about the matter. These are the sectors which I feel, because they're low productivity, they should get more workers, which is a change in the position you originally have advocated. And these are the sectors which should get less foreign workers because they're more productive. And state how much. It'll have to be quite a significant tightening.
And to make sure no employers attempt to get around the measures to tighten dependence on foreign workers, Minister of State Tan Chuan Jin said the Employment of Foreign Manpower Act is now under review to ensure penalties are adequate. A public consultation will be launched later this month, and the changes are targeted for implementation this year. Penalties for serious contraventions like collecting kickbacks from foreign workers will also be increased. Currently, maximum penalties for breaching the work permit conditions are a $5,000 fine and or a 6 months jail term.
This is inadequate. They do not reflect the egregious nature of such acts. Under the revised EFMA, we intend for unscrupulous employers who collect monies from their foreign workers to get or retain a job here to be subject to appropriately heavier penalties.
Workplace safety was another area of concern. Last year, Singapore's workplace fatality rate was 2.3 deaths for every 100,000 workers. The Manpower Ministry says fatal falls accounted for half of these, so new regulations may be on the cards. This may include the mandatory use of fall prevention plans and a permit-to-work system where workers will be required to obtain permits before commencing work at heights. Also, a new workplace safety and health assist program will be extended to small and medium-sized enterprises for defraying up to 80% of the fees incurred in engaging consultants to provide on-site consultation services.
We have to aim to attain the safety standard of the developed countries which consistently have a low annual fertility rate of around 1 per 100,000 workers. There are also still too many cases of permanent disablement due to workplace excellence here. The question is how the government plans to lower this rate and help our workers.
We are currently exploring how we can enhance the training provided for foreign construction workers with a view of extending the construction safety training course, the SEOC, from current 1 day to 2 days. We are also piloting a scheme for this safety training to be conducted at the workers' country of origin. Training at source will enable companies to bring in workers who are already knowledgeable.
It will soon become mandatory for employers to give their foreign domestic workers a weekly day off. But to provide flexibility for employers with elderly or maids who prefer to work, both parties will have the option to have a compensation in lieu of a rest day. To balance the needs of employers and their domestic workers, Minister of State for Manpower Tan Chuan Jin says time and flexibility will be given to adjust to the new regulation. It will only kick in from 1st January next year. Addressing concerns that one of the key concerns employers have for allowing their domestic workers off days was their activities when they are out. Mr. Tan emphasized that his ministry does not forfeit employers' security bonds if the foreign domestic worker violates her own work permit conditions. He said the new regulation is expected to enhance Singapore's attractiveness as a destination for quality and experienced foreign domestic workers, as well as benefit employers.
Employers may also find that actually improving FDW's well-being by giving them regular rest days will have a positive impact on the quality of care that they and their loved ones receive. Increasing Singapore's attractiveness as an FDW destination will improve the supply of FDW for employers. Happier FDWs will lead to better care for employers, fewer management problems, and greater peace of mind. Not everyone is ready to do this. So our regulations will provide the flexibility for employers to negotiate different arrangements with the FDW. But as our country develops economically, and I think we have developed quite incredibly so on that front, we should not cease to ask ourselves about the kind of society we want to build, about the kind of society that we want to live in. How would we ourselves want to be treated as employees, as workers? We should strive to embody and uphold the right values to our children, because I'm not sure whether we are always aware, but our children every day at home observe our behavior, and they observe the way we talk to and the way we treat our foreign domestic workers.
The debate in Parliament resumes tomorrow. Good night.